Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Act 3. We are so glad that you joined the program today. On today's program, we are going to discuss volunteering and the importance of volunteering in Nanaimo and throughout the province of BC or anywhere in the world where you can lend a helping hand. Our guest is Rita Innamorati. Let's hope that I got it right. Is it Innamorati? Did I get it right, Rita?
Absolutely right.
Oh, thank you. You know, I've always enjoyed working with you in Nanaimo. Your organization is outstanding. Tell us a little bit about what Volunteer Nanaimo is, what they do, and let's unpack all of that.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me, Kathy. It's really nice to be able to talk to someone with COVID happening. That's not something we all get to do. So thanks very much for that. Volunteer Nanaimo has been around for 40 years. This is actually our 41st year. And the organization has really evolved over the years. And what we're doing now is a lot of community services. So we have a tech service where people can donate old computers, iPads, any kind of items, technical items, and we have a wonderful team of volunteers, and what they do is fix them up, and those are donated back to seniors, persons with challenges. We've given a few to some of the refugee families, and that of course is all by donation. So if you can't afford anything, then it doesn't cost anything.
Oh my goodness. Before you go further with that, because it really, I find right now specifically with, and for those of you who have just tuned into the program, just so you know, this is a pre-recorded Zoom recording. We're not in the studio quite yet. COVID-19 is still keeping all of us at social distancing. But when we're talking, Rita, about computers and technology and volunteers, how are you finding that technology is helping the older adult now to be able to reach out to community prior to COVID-19, but certainly during COVID-19? I would imagine there's some positive impacts to that.
Well, of course, there's so much isolation involved with COVID. So many people are, basically trapped inside their homes, trying to stay safe, trying to stay healthy. And one of the wonderful things about computers, iPads, anything like that, especially for people who have them and can't use them or don't know how to use them, we do have some training around that, but we also have been giving them out because it's a way to keep in touch, even with people in town, like even just to be able to see someone across the neighborhood, not necessarily having to be anywhere else. But a lot of the seniors are finding it great keeping in touch with family members, keeping in touch with children, keeping in touch with friends that are far away. Certainly, I think that you see commercials all the time about how families are introducing the new babies to grandma over the computer through Zoom, through Skype, anything like that they would have to use. So I think it's really important. I mean, even, telephone calls are so important for seniors that absolutely can't get in touch any other way. So computers are great, and it's really nice. We were very fortunate to have people who are still donating to us, even though we've been supposedly closed. We've never actually closed, although we've been closed to the public. We've been there to certainly accept any kinds of donations like that. So it's just been really important, I think, for people to keep in touch.
Well, and I love the idea that the community is reaching out and doing these donations and helping to support people in our community. It's not just older adults that are really being supported by Volunteer Nanaimo, and certainly not just older adults that are receiving this technology. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. We have no boundaries on who. All we have to do is hear that someone needs it, and we do our best to fulfill that. I have to give a real call out to the city of Nanaimo, because we've been very fortunate that whenever they go through a department that's upgraded, they do donate a lot of their technology to us, a lot of their computer towers, screens.
That's fantastic. And it really does help, because, if you think about, I know you have some youth programs. Let's explore some of those. I would imagine that some of the technology for the youth programs really can be very beneficial as well.
Well, one thing I have to say, most of the youth pretty much are more
they're so tech savvy.
More tech savvy than I will ever be before I.
You and me both, sister.
So even with our youth our youth network, which are 11 to 17. We also have a Youth Can 2020 program being run out of our office, and that would be 15 to 29-year-olds, which are all considered youth by the government. Most of their meetings are on Zoom, or they were using our conference call line. And that's the way that they're getting together, because of course no one can get together, but it certainly has been a great thing education wise. You know, anyone that's got a computer is continuing on with their education. There probably are families that don't have that technology, and you know, it's really difficult to think how they might be managing with this, but of course we're all doing the best that we can. I think technology is great. We never realized how much we would be dependent on it until something like this comes along, and it really makes me wish that I knew more about it myself. But
Well, you know, I'm excited about this opportunity, though. You're quite right. If you could have imagined, I mean, certainly, you know, 100 years ago with the Spanish flu, technology wasn't nowhere, you know, I mean, it wasn't even there. But thinking about how we've dealt with technology in this incarnation of a terrible circumstance for community, I can't imagine ever now being without Zoom and FaceTime, Messenger, you know, this opportunity to still see our loved ones, or take classes, or as you said, you know, students still continuing on with their education where possible without this kind of technology. And it's an amazing opportunity to do that call out in Nanaimo. You know, if you do have tablets, cell phones, or computer devices that you feel could be a benefit, wouldn't it be grand to be able to pay them forward to someone in the community who could really use them?
absolutely. And you know, the other place we really have seen that is the online shopping.
Oh, yes.
If you don't have a computer, it's so difficult to do any kind, because online shopping is what they do, right? You put it into the computer, they get it all ready for you. They either deliver it or you can pick it up. But if you don't have the technology, and I can tell you firsthand, I've tried to do some of the online shopping myself before COVID. This was before COVID even happened. And I could not maneuver it. I'm telling the truth. I almost broke down in tears. I actually phoned her like a sobbing little girl saying, help me, I cannot do this. And they took my order over the phone, but they can't possibly do that under these conditions. So for, you know, if you don't have a computer, you're almost shut off at this during all this COVID.
Yes, it's very true that, and that's where volunteers really can come in handy to support someone who's having challenges. You know, if they call your office, Rita, what can it be expected if you've got someone who really, you know, for example, shopping, right? For example, you know, just making the order. They don't even have to do the shopping, just that conversation. What happens when people call, Rita?
Well, as I said, the office has been technically closed since March the 13th, but I'm happy to say that all the phone messages are taken off. Someone's in there every day. I was in there most every day. We do have people in there 2 or 3 times a week, making sure the messages are taken off. A lot of that is around our tax program. A lot of people worried about getting their taxes done before the end of the month. We did have 2 full weeks of only tax services that we actually did taxes every day, while maintaining the social distancing protocols, which makes it very, very difficult.
No kidding.
You have to have so much space between yourself and the client and between the stations that we were only able to have 2 stations operating each day, but we still managed to do 400 returns. So that was good.
That's a ton.
A lot of the calls were coming in about people who were frantic about having that done. Now, of course, they have announced that no one will be cut off in July, even if the taxes didn't get prepared. So we'll be starting up the tax program again. I think June the 5th, we're starting again with taxes. So if people call and want to make an appointment, we'll take care of that. But if anyone called and just said they wanted, you know, someone to call them, or if they wanted someone to do grocery shopping, whatever requests they might have, we'll certainly do it. We would certainly do our best. We do have people ready and able to help if we find things that need to be done. And you know, of course, we can't do anything like actually transporting people again, because of social distancing, we don't want to put anyone at risk. But even the social protocol around our office when we reopen in 2 weeks, or June the
I was going to say, rumor has it you're opening up pretty soon. So
June
what?
8th,
Okay.
yeah, we're reopening June the 8th. But even at that time, you know, we will be requesting masks be worn. We have the 6-foot lines for everyone to stand behind. I mean, we have to protect our volunteers as well. I think that it's going to be very tenuous at first because people just don't know what to expect. I don't know that everyone knows how to act, even though this has been going on for 16, 17 weeks. It doesn't really mean that the first time or the second time you're out that everyone's really comfortable. And so we have to protect everyone, not just ourselves. Of course, I'm concerned about our volunteer team, but even people coming in, that they have to feel that they're in a safe environment. So, you know, that's all being taken care of. There's signage, all of that will happen. But that would be the only reason that we wouldn't be driving people to appointments or anything like that. But certainly drop off, pick up, things like that. I have people that are happy to do it. If somebody calls and needs that kind of help, they certainly can give us a call.
Which is a perfect segue. Because usually in the beginning of the program, or somewhere in the program, I invite our listeners to grab a piece of paper and a pen so that they can take down the information about your agency, or, you know, and be able to follow up a little bit further. So as you and I are continuing our conversation, I'm inviting our listeners to reach over, grab your pen and your paper, and Rita and I will be sharing her contact information in just a few minutes. So yes, this is a great opportunity. You're absolutely right, though, Rita. We want to make sure that everyone in Nanaimo is feeling safe. We have been very blessed. At the time of this recording, we have 127 known cases of COVID-19 on Vancouver Island. We have had 2 weeks where we have not had a single additional person be diagnosed with the condition. And we know that really, hospitalizations-wise, there's one person hospitalized for COVID. The recovery has been phenomenal, but I think it's because Vancouver Islandites and our Gulf Island region, everywhere in Seychelles, all around, we're really, really meticulous. Dr. Bonnie Henry has been a great resource to make sure that we are applying safe distancing and using the proper protocols to keep us all safe. I know that Volunteer Nanaimo believes the same thing in keeping people safe. So, 6 feet, it's surprisingly close together. It's not that far apart. You can still talk to somebody and be 6 feet apart with somebody and help out, right?
Oh, I absolutely can, but
Me too.
My voice carries.
As does mine.
You don't even have to be 6 feet apart.
Yeah, for sure. But there's other ways that you have been connecting with community as well. I know that you have a terrific program that has to do with a party line. Let's unpack that a little bit. What's a party line? I mean, aside of the old definition where a whole bunch of people are talking at the same time, is that kind of what a party line is under Volunteer Nanaimo's auspice?
That's exactly what it is.
Walk us through it.
I know, it's been great, actually, getting the information out. We weren't sure how the program was going to go, quite frankly, but when COVID hit, we knew it was going to be a real success. So we've been operating a few different party lines, and we play bingo on the phone.
Oh my goodness.
With real life prizes. And you have to be 55 to actually play, and you have to sign up because we actually have to deliver cards to you, bingo cards to play. And then we just have a call-in time. We let everyone know when to call in, and the great thing is you don't need a computer. And that was our target audience. For people that don't have computers, still want to connect. We've been so blessed. We've had an amazing group of people that I've personally been involved with, the calls that we do. And they're so excited for COVID to be over so they can meet, because these are people from all different areas who don't know each other, but they've come to know each other over the past 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks. I'm trying to think of how long it seemed, the days just seem to melt one into another.
Yeah, they sure do. Yeah, you bet.
Can't even tell you what day of the week it is when I'm talking to you half the time. But it's been great. And if somebody doesn't call in one day, you know, people are like, oh, where's so-and-so? Or have you heard from so-and-so? Because they're really concerned about each other. If someone is sick, or they just been fortunate enough to be out in the garden and forgotten to call in, or, you know, whatever reason, it's
My
been.
gosh, I love the idea of having bingo on the phone. How many people are coming to the game?
Well, I think we have 170 something that are registered. This was part of the New Horizons program, which is being administered by Marjorie Driscoll, who was our.
Marjorie is so amazing.
I know.
We
Does
love you,
everybody
Marjorie
love
Driscoll.
her?
We should tell people who Marjorie Driscoll is. I'm sure everybody in Nanaimo knows who she is, but just in case, go for it.
So Marjorie Driscoll was the executive director for Volunteer Nanaimo for 26 years. She has just recently, I don't want to say retired because I'm still hanging on to her, but she did semi-retire. I'm going to say semi-retire.
Step aside a little bit. Marjorie Driscoll
Aside, on March 31st of 2020. That was our year end. So that's when she decided to step away from that particular position. But she's still very much involved with Volunteer Nanaimo with our New Horizons program, which she orchestrated and is still the head of this particular program. So I believe the last numbers, because she is still in charge of it, was about 176, 179 people registered. We have probably 25 people or so playing at a time. They've been playing a couple of times a week, different days. And it's just been great. And thanks to that funding, the prizes are $25 gift cards for groceries, which has been
perfect
for people. I mean, they just love it. But I have to say, the last few times that we've played, people actually say, well, I'd play even if there wasn't a prize. It's just fun. We have a lot of fun. And so
I want to play. I want to play.
I want to play. You're not over 55.
I am too.
Oh no,
I am. I'm a lot.
You're gonna lie just to be able to play. Okay.
I'm older than you think I am, and I don't actually share, but I'm definitely in my Act 3. Speaking of which, you are listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo. Hey, listen, you guys need to know that Rita Innamorati is our guest today from Volunteer Nanaimo. I'm so glad she's here because her insight when it comes to the pulse of volunteers in Nanaimo is extraordinary. Rita, before we go any further, my darling, and there's so much more to share, but I'm curious because we did tell people how to get a piece of paper and a pen. I know that the tax thing is still happening. If people want to volunteer, if people want to donate to the any of the numerous programs you serve, or donate computers, phones, those kinds of things to help some of the community members as well, how can they do that?
Well, they can give us a call at 250-758-7121. That's actually the office number. You could also, if you have a computer, check us out on our webpage, which is www.volunteernanaimo.ca. And
do you have Facebook presence as well?
We do. We're on Facebook. Volunteer Nanaimo is on Facebook, as well as our youth network of Volunteer Nanaimo is also on Facebook. If you know anyone, if you have children, grandchildren, if your friends have children, basically from 11 to 29, we've got a place for them, a program for them as well, so they can check that out. And they're actually playing bingo some nights too, so yay!
Yay!
Even the kids are doing it. So yeah, they're a great program. So do give us a call if you have any questions about where you might be able to get some help. We will do our very best to give you that information as well.
So Rita, honey, how hard is it to volunteer in Nanaimo? What if I wanted to just volunteer? Many of us have a little more time these days than we've had in the past. I'm not one of those people, but I know that there are many people that do, and I do volunteer. Don't misunderstand at all. But if I were to just, be somebody who wants to expand my horizons and try something new and volunteer, what happens when I call your agency?
Well, of course, if you called and told us where your interests lie, we'd do our very best to direct you in right path, down the right path. However, one of the biggest problems we have right now is so many, I'm going to guess about 90% of the nonprofits in Nanaimo are shut down.
Yes.
Just for the sake of safety, the fact that people shouldn't be out walking around or doing anything like that. So it's a really difficult time. There is a lot of virtual volunteering that can be done, whether it be calling people who need to be called, particularly seniors, but it's not limited just to seniors. There's
No, not at all.
there's a lot of people with different challenges that happen to be isolating for whatever reasons. They're vulnerable. You don't have to be a senior to be vulnerable. So,
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a really important point.
And I think that that's something people have to think about. I know we get a lot of calls or a lot of emails for people saying, geez, do you have any need for, do you know any seniors that need help? Well, it's not always just seniors. So, that's one thing I think that really needs to get out there. It doesn't have to be a senior. It can be children of a single parent who's really struggling with homeschooling, or is something they can't manage, or just I can't even imagine being in a house with 2 or 3 little ones and nowhere to go. And
absolutely. What a great important point.
So,
and especially when it comes to some of their schoolwork now, if you're a person who's been studying at the university, or you've been, in your regular field of work, and your business has cut down or shut back or closed. First day with my new tongue, you can tell that the words didn't come out quite right, but you know what I'm saying, right? People are not actually in the workforce in the same way that they were. And so sometimes they have those extra hours on their hands with incredible skills that can be shared amongst young people from a tutoring perspective, and trying to help people with their homework. And I can't imagine, I mean, my kids are grown, I cannot imagine being a young mom at home with a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old in kindergarten, and trying to do some homeschooling.
Well, I imagine that's quite a challenge myself. As you, my children have aged out, and my grandchildren are, of an age where they're being homeschooled. I'm blessed because my daughter happens to be brilliant. And
don't you love that? I love brilliant daughters.
She's like a terrific mother. I wish I could send her a copy of this so she knew how terrific she is. So her kids are managing very, very well. And again, they're lucky enough to be able to work from home, herself and her husband, that both parents are at home. So that's great. But I think, we have to sort of get the word out there to not just single parents, but any parents. Do you need a hand? Do you need someone to do grocery shopping for you? Do you need, help with the kids? Tutoring, that's, tutoring kind of work. A lot of these kids are going to be well behind the ball.
Yes. Yeah.
Return to school in September for sure. And one of the other things that we have at Volunteer Nanaimo is we host the Autism Library.
Oh, so what's that?
We have hundreds of books, videos, games, and they're geared towards families that are dealing with autism spectrum youth. But the books aren't just for the kids. The videos aren't just for the kids. They could be for a sibling. They could be for a helpmate. They could be for the parents. I mean, there's so much knowledge, so much information. And like I said, even games, there's games that you can borrow games. And we have this tremendous resource thanks to the Autism Society of Central Vancouver Island. And, shout out to Marilyn Sullivan for
Thank you, Marilyn.
She's amazing with that. So we have this wonderful library, so that you can borrow a book or something, anything you wanted to borrow, for 3 weeks. So if you know of anyone who has a family member or knows of someone, even a teacher or an instructor or a childhood educator, babysitter, whatever, that could benefit from using one of those resources, they're there, they're free. They did a lot of fundraising to be able to provide that library, and we'd really love to see it more utilized. And we're also, I know Marilyn is, and I know I am, very willing to meet people outside of office hours. If they call and need to make an appointment, it's not always, everyone's not available between 9 and 3, you know, Monday to Thursday or Friday, whatever. You know, we're happy to come down and let you in. Of course, with COVID, we're saying one person at a time in the library area because we'd have to clean everything off.
Of course, yes.
Area.
Yeah.
So, but there's
Yeah.
a table and chairs. You can browse through some stuff and, you know, have a look and maybe check out a video and see what it's like and decide if you want more. But again, I think this is a sector that is going to be very overlooked because they already require the extra help at school. Now they're not even in school.
No, that's absolutely true. And I had no idea that you offered that service. I mean, I know you do a lot of things at Volunteer Nanaimo, but that's an extraordinary piece that really, I think the messaging needs to be that you're there to help on so many levels that you might not have ever thought of before.
We do our best.
You rock, baby. You rock. I'm just saying. And not only do you rock about that, and by the way, for those people who just tuned into the program, you are listening to Rita Innamorati, who is the new executive director, taking over from 20 odd years with Marjorie Driscoll. At the time of COVID, I couldn't believe you took it over and then bam, what a way to start your new, and you shut it down. What a way to start.
That's how I started. I started by closing the office.
What a way to begin a new program.
We're still trying so much.
Well, but there's so many things that you do, and the involvement that you have within community is outstanding. Rita, I'm curious, you know, as a volunteer, are most of your volunteers vetted in a certain way? I mean, people, like we talked about a little earlier, they call in, you kind of figure out what people might like to do, and we've certainly talked about tutoring and other things, like there's lots of things. But some of those, when you're dealing with vulnerable populations, regardless of the age, you know, it's more than just calling in and saying, I want to help. There is a process that needs to be done, right? For safety for everyone, right?
Absolutely. Particularly if you're working with the vulnerable sector, which would be children, seniors. So that requires additional vetting. You know, criminal record checks have to be done. I would never send out anyone that we wouldn't feel would fit that criteria. So we do have a lot of vetted volunteers at this point, lots that aren't, but that doesn't mean they can't do anything. But we just have to be really, really careful. I would use the example of a senior who's been isolated for weeks and weeks, and someone is going to deliver groceries and pick up cash out of the mailbox and drop off groceries. You just have to be so careful about who you're sending, because you know, 99.99% of people would be always doing the right thing, but you know, there's always that 1% that we have to make sure that to the best of our ability, that everyone is in a safe place. So.
And it's really important that if people are coming from any volunteer organization, that they are able to really show and be supported in that way, because we do know that there are predators out there. Thankfully, they're few and far between. I recently heard of a predator saying that they were from a well-known organization. And when they had called into they called the senior out of the blue and basically presented themselves as being someone who they were not. And so you do have to be careful on who's coming through the door. But you're quite right, the lion's share, when they've been vetted and gone through an agency like yourself, you know, these things don't happen. So it's important for people to know that it's not just a random person coming to the door, that they have been vetted.
Well, absolutely. And if they're coming from Volunteer Nanaimo, we're putting our reputation on the line there. Not to say it couldn't happen. Of course it could happen. I mean, like you said, the predators are not uneducated. These are people that know exactly how to maneuver the system. But, you know, we do our very, very best. And I don't know if you know about our VICA program. I would just want to throw this out there because it's another one of our, so VICA is the Vancouver Island Community Knitters Association. So we actually collect yarn. We collect donated yarn, and we have lots of knitters and crocheters out there who make our 8-inch squares, which they bring to us, and we have blankets made. And So we have actually been collecting yarn dropped off outside or dropped off at the door, and we've been delivering it to different people so they can do knitting, so that they have nothing else to do, so they're knitting so people can donate. And we've been doing that. I mean, I've had just about everyone in the office has had a turn at dropping a bag of yarn off at somebody's house or picking a bag of yarn up at somebody's house. So I just want to say to anyone, if you're doing a little bit of spring cleaning, as everyone is, and you have bags and bags of yarn from all those projects you thought you'd be doing even now, which I know people aren't doing those projects.
I have a whole shelf full of, not yarn, but a shelf full of the projects that I thought, yeah, I hear you. I do.
Yeah, so that's one of the other things that we have going on.
So drop the yarn off. And what happens with those squares? And they become quilts and blankets?
They become blankets. Generally, we've given those out in November, 30, 40. I think last year we gave about 40 out. But this year, what we're finding is, and I've discussed this with Charlene from Blankets for Canada as well, that nobody wants to take them at this point, because basically if you take them to a shelter, they can only use them once and then they can't be used again. So we're hoping that, you know, come the cold weather, that they'll be able to take them into the shelters. I mean, everyone's hoping and praying that this is well under control before anything like, you know, at that point. We're hoping by November that things are very much under control and things have gone back to not normal the way it was, but the new normal, which I think is going to be a lot more of people caring about each other and looking out for one another, more so than has ever been. I've been in Nanaimo for 20 years, nearly 20 years, 14 years with Volunteer Nanaimo, and truly, I don't know many people that haven't been absolutely wonderful and kind and generous. And I'd like to think that that's the majority of people around Nanaimo. That's been my experience. I think when you go out with the attitude that people are inherently good, that they are.
I agree. I totally agree. Inherent, and I moved to, always too much information, but I have to share. I moved to my 10th year anniversary of living on Vancouver Island, in Nanaimo specifically, will be this fall, October of this fall. I will have been here for 10 years. And one of the reasons I moved here was because my former husband at the time was a karate man, and I was introduced to the Shotokan Karate Club, and we came every year for probably 10 years or so to Rathtrevor Beach, where we met some incredible people, you know, did our shtick, and, you know, it was grand. And because of those incredible people, I got to understand the dynamics of Nanaimo. So when it came time for me to transition in my life, I chose this city very specifically because of the kindness, and I have not yet been let down. I am so enamored by how much goodness, sheer, unadulterated, pure, kind goodness that is in this city. It's phenomenal to me. Yes, we have our issues. Yes, there's a lot of big problems. There's opioid crisis, there's homelessness, there's poverty, there's, you know, there's a lot of stuff that every community goes through. But I find Nanaimo people to be unadulteratedly kind, 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 kind beyond measure. And they're coming to Volunteer Nanaimo, I'm sure of it, to share that kindness.
I absolutely believe that. And like I said, you can always find bad if you're looking for it.
Oh,
but
yes.
if you're willing to just look for the good, you're just going to be overwhelmed by it. I know I'm overwhelmed year after year. It's just increasingly more. I think part of that, and Kathy, you've been a part of our Angel Network.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
We run that Angel Network all year round, trying to help people, but our big push has always been at Christmas. You know, we do Christmas Angels. I've done them with you for years.
Yes.
I mean, this past year, we were able to help almost 1,200 people, like 400 families, but 1,200 people in the Nanaimo area. And anyone who comes by our office during the angel season is overwhelmed. You can't even fathom what we have going on in that office. I mean, it's North Pole on crack. It's incredible. The volunteers that come in to wrap, the countless number of angels who shop, who donate. It's unbelievable. It's phenomenal. I just, every year, I just literally sit down and cry over how wonderful, how amazing Nanaimo comes together. And we're just a fraction. We're
Oh,
just
yes, yes, yes.
I mean, if you look around at, you know, all the different programs, I mean, I would never be able to even name them all, but, you know, the Salvation Army, all the different places that do loaves and fishes, you know, people are just above and beyond at Christmas. But in particular, my angels, and I call them my angels, the Volunteer Nanaimo Angels, just bar none. I would put my volunteers and my angels up against any organization in this town as being like the best. I'm so proud of them. I love them to death. And we've made some amazing partnerships with some of the different businesses in the city. And even money that was donated for Christmas Angels that came late, we've had calls from these people who said, you know, hey, we know we donated for Christmas Angels and you were going to hold it off till November, but if you can use it now to help anybody, go ahead, have at it. No one is like holding on to that. And we've never held on to that either. We do our best to help families, to help individuals throughout the year. But you know, that's such a huge program, and more we're finding we need that program year round.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think a year-round program, because the need is more than just at Christmas time, right? You know, I believe wholeheartedly that everyone matters, and our children who and families that receive the Christmas Angel programming that you do it's extraordinary, and the generosity. I'm gobsmacked by the gifts that are gifted to these families, and really it's outstanding. And the rest of the year, the business of living continues, and there's a lot of people that really could use additional support throughout the year, whether or not it's through food hamper, whether it's through, you know, we talked earlier about technology, computers, things like that to help kids get through school, you know, whether or not it is the, you know, the squares of knitting that are being put together into blankets and quilts for homeless, for isolated people that don't, you know, feel that they're part of the system in any way or part of the community in any way. And it doesn't take much to engage. I mean, community isn't just about what's going right. Community is also about mending or facilitating supports for what's maybe not going as right as we wish it would, because these are people. It's not just about the situation. These are individual people, and they need our help whenever possible.
That's true. And the one thing about Volunteer Nanaimo, and I shouldn't say Volunteer Nanaimo, it's not solely our programming, but I think you'd find that everyone is welcome. I mean, people, we always say, especially on tax days, it's just a standing, people want to come and do reception work on tax day, because not only the volume of people on a regular tax day, because we usually have 5 tax preparers, so we do about 120 appointments that day, but
that's incredible. 120 tax returns in a day.
No, that's appointments in a day.
Appointments in a day. How many tax returns are done from?
Well, you know, people come in with more than 1 year. It happens.
A lot. I was going to say there's a lot more than 120. That's a good point.
Anyone away. We don't turn anyone away. But if you ever had a chance to come in on one of those days, you would see the range of people, from those that can't even speak the language to, you know, people that just the poorest of the poor, and seniors, and people who are so grateful for the service. And what we found a lot of when we had that 2 weeks that we did taxes every day for 2 weeks, which is all we were open for. We really didn't have any other services available at that time. It was just trying to get some people through. The seniors would come in, masks, pens in hand, me with my bottle of spray, and they just wanted to talk. They just wanted, they would say, this is the first time I've been out in 7 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. And it was really overwhelming. Like you really felt it in your heart that, wow, that just that little bit of interaction, how much it meant. And, you know, then there we go. We're circled right around back to COVID and being there for someone. And you think maybe you don't have time to do it, even being home, because, you know, there's housekeeping and just people are working from home, whatever. But, you know, a 5-minute call to a harried mom, just to, you know, let her know that it's okay to be harried, and it's okay that she's frazzled. And, you know, we're not, I was a single mom with 3 kids. It's not always a great day.
Oh no, indeed it is not.
We really have to allow ourselves to go with the feeling, whatever that feeling is. And whether, you know, when we were growing up, when my children were growing up, probably yours as well, everybody was condemning the TV babysitter. My children's TV hours were very regimented, their computer time, because my children grew up with computers. I didn't have any, but they had Super Nintendo and computers.
Yeah, same for mine. Yeah.
And we really had to just piecemeal that out. You have an hour of this, you have half an hour of this. You know what? Let your kids watch TV so you can have a cup of tea. Just do it. It doesn't make you a bad parent. And
yes, you're so right.
If there's 2 of you at home, still put the kids in front of the TV and take 10 minutes to yourselves, and let yourselves tell each other, we are doing a great job, because we're here, our kids are here, we're healthy, we're safe, and that's the most important thing. But for goodness sakes, reach out if you need help. Island Integrated Counseling, they're still busy helping people with virtual counseling, giving you someone to talk to. But do reach out to a family member, reach out to a friend, reach out to a stranger, you know, call us, we'll find someone to talk to you. Just give you 5 minutes to talk to another adult, which is something else that, you know, people, you really need to do. Take that time for yourself. I can't stress it enough. Self-care is so important at times like this. And, you know, there's people out there willing to help. So just, you know, reach out. There's no shame in it. There's nothing wrong with reaching out for help. Someday you'll be the one that's helping.
Yes, the pay it forward piece is not necessary, but if you can and you choose to in the future, it is great. But definitely you need to feel safe to call anybody and just say, you know what, I need a little support right now. And you can do that by calling Volunteer Nanaimo and having maybe a volunteer do some friendly visiting with you, you know, do a virtual call with you. And once again, Rita, how do people get in touch with you? Can you say the phone number a couple of times?
The phone number is 250-758-7121. Did you hear me falter on that? I almost forgot the phone number.
It's been a while since we've been
in I don't know.
I hear you, but you got it. Let's say it one more time.
250-758-7121. Also check out our website. If you go to Facebook, anyone who's written to us on Facebook knows we get back to you as quickly as we can. We have a few administrators who will answer whatever questions you might have or whatever reaching out you have to do. Again, I can't stress enough that volunteers are great. We love everything that you do. This is a really hard time. I know a lot of organizations really just don't have the capacity to have people in right now, but as things loosen up, there's just going to be a huge rush of need, because as everyone starts opening up again, a lot of people are never going to be ready to come back out and do their volunteer work, and that's fine too. I mean, the most important person, the person you got to look out for is yourself. We certainly want you to look after yourself, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming up, I'm sure. And you know, a lot of events have been canceled this year. Summer's pretty much going to be quiet, looking for events. So a lot of that volunteerism is going by the wayside. There's a lot of people that do special events only. They'll come out for a day for the Blues Festival. They'll come out for the for the exhibition by X.
Mhm.
Silly boats or dragon boats. There's, so many things going on that this year aren't happening. So we have to think outside the box around what we're going to do as volunteers, as people start returning to work. Keep your eyes out for different things that are happening with people that can accept volunteers and do things like that. Off the top of my head, I don't know who's actually started up, but you like to be outside, maybe contact the Morel Sanctuary, because they have trails to clear, and you can do that by yourself or with a loved one. And different places that have things like that going on. Any senior centers might have ideas for what you can do. And again, if anyone needs any help, to give us a call. We'll try to pair you up with someone as best we can, or direct you to where you can get the help that you need if we can't provide it.
Well, we're coming near to the end of the show, so there's a couple of things I just want to touch base on really quickly before we close out. One of them is that Volunteer Nanaimo every year does a huge, spectacular volunteer appreciation. We know that event is canceled. Do you have something? I know it's heartbreaking, and I'm curious if there's anything moving forward. Have you got some new ideas on what that looks like, or is that going to be a work in progress for celebration this year?
Okay, so the Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon that we have is usually during National Volunteer Week, which is in April. So we tried to move it into June. However, Bevan is not reopening. And since we have about 400 people at that event, there's really nowhere else to have it. We are, pushing forward for our 25th anniversary luncheon to be next April, but we've also had to cancel our Touch a Truck event, which is going to be our 5th annual Touch a Truck event, which has been amazing, growing every year on Father's Day. And we usually have 30 or more trucks in an area for kids to come enjoy, bouncy castles, face painting, and we've had to cancel that as well because we that many people. We generally have about 1,000 we've come up to, which is yay, great. But we're always looking to, go a little bigger than that. However, this year that has been canceled, and that's our fundraiser for our youth program. So if I can plug our little fundraisers that we are having in lieu of that this year, is that okay if I do that?
Please do. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So we have 2 things happening. Thanks to a terrific support of ours, which is Lowe's over at Nanaimo North. Derek, hi Derek, thank you. So Derek has donated a patio set. So we're having a raffle. Raffle tickets are $2, 3 for $5. You can go on the website and buy tickets that way. You can come by the office. So the first prize is a beautiful patio set, and we're going to be spending a lot of time in our yards, so that'd be a great gift. And also the second prize is a $200 gift card for Lowe's, and you can do a lot with that too. $200, just think about all the nice stuff you can do around the house. So that's our first fundraiser. The draw is going to be on July the 1st. And the second fundraiser we have is, again, thanks to another wonderful volunteer, Val Mumford of Val's Photography is doing porch photos. So she will come if you're having a birthday party on your porch. If you just want to have a family portrait done, she will come take your picture as a fundraiser for us. And it's $25, and you can call the office to set up an appointment for that. But I think what a great idea for a Father's Day gift to have a
indeed
in your yard where she can do that. And
great idea.
So yeah, you'll have to check the website for that or call the office and we'll be able to help you with that. So thanks very much for letting me plug away.
Hey, listen, I want the patio set. I'm ordering my tickets now, just as a heads up when we go offline. I'll just let you know I'll be booking up. I'll be getting some of those tickets. I do need a new patio set, so I'm happy for that. And definitely Father's Day is coming up. Actually, Father's Day around the time that this will be broadcast will be either the week before or it's coming up pretty soon. So good to know for July the 1st that you, first of all, for the Father's Day when you can get the portraits done, but it's an ongoing fundraiser, right?
Oh, right. It's going to be ongoing, but it's a great idea for Father's Day. Even
it's a great idea.
Dad's at work, have the kids on the porch and have a picture done for Dad. I just think it's a great idea.
Well,
point.
what an innovative way to bring funds back into, right? Because you're right. And, you know, the Angel Network is certainly looking for donations as well. You know, anytime that you can help with Volunteer Nanaimo, by all means, please go ahead and do so. Rita, we've just got a minute or so left before we close out. And so, you know, as always at the end of my program, I love to be able to imbibe on our audience, you know, the takeaway, like the big stuff. You've shared so much incredible information. But being with Volunteer Nanaimo for the last 14 years, that's a good long time. And now the AD, what's your gem of what would you like to imbibe on our audience as being your best or your favorite kind of takeaway thing about doing what it is that you love to do so much?
Well, it is what I love to do. And I believe that the greatest gift you can give to someone else is your time. Because when
Yeah.
you dedicate your time, you're offering a part of your life that you will never get back. And that's something that no one else can do. You're the only one that can give your time. You're the only one that can give of yourself. And we really, I think we grow from that every time we help someone, even a kind word, a smile to someone who may just need that smile to make their day. Fraction of a second, 5 minutes, your time, give it away. It's the most valuable thing you have.
You know what? I'm in perfect alignment with that. And spending time with you is probably one of my favorite things to do. Thank you so much, Rita, for joining us today. I look forward to, you know, sharing your message further and letting people remind people that these draws are out there so that they can help contribute. And certainly, as you said, you're reopening Volunteer Nanaimo June the 8th. So, and of course, with precautions in place and social distancing, but it's probably best to give a call first before you attend. Can you give that phone number out one more time for me?
250-758-7121.
Thank you so much. Now, you can give the website too if you like.
Oh, www.volunteernanaimo.ca or Volunteer Nanaimo right on Facebook.